Mataji. I haven't made a podcast for a few days because I've been very busy. We had our first Sahaj meeting here with the Bangkok yogis came down, and one of the yogis is expert musician, so he was helping me with some music, which was great fun. And we had a nice time over the weekend, and I met some new people, which was just really, really nice. So I'm going to spin out a couple of little anecdotal stories that I've been thinking about, talking about the early years with Sri Mataji and my personal experiences. Quite a few people have seen some of the podcasts, and I'm very grateful that they get out and people listen to them. So I think the first story is me going to France very early on, maybe 1981, something like that, with Sri Mataji. I travelled on the aeroplane with her because she needed me to accompany her. So we landed at Paris Charles de Gaulle Airport and went through all these strange tunnel things I think they have there, and eventually found ourselves in central Paris. Mother really liked Paris because it's a very interesting place with lots of history and lots of interesting shops, and you can sit outside and you can have coffee and tea. So we did a little bit of touristic stuff, and then I think towards the end of the afternoon, from what I can remember, we had a puja for Sri Mataji. Mother would sit in the chair that the dear yogis in Paris had provided and made it look nice, and we had incense and music playing, and everybody would then take it in turns to wash Mother's feet. That was in a big bowl, brass I think was the bowl, and we had all sorts of things to wash her feet with. So the yogis would wash Mother's feet, and they would feel enormous vibrations coming from her feet. Then it was my turn. Now, as you know, I hadn't been in Sarge very long, and I was, probably sort of normal person, drinking, smoking cigarettes, and generally being a bit rebellious. But I had this job, so I was keeping a really good job together, thanks to Mother. And I don't think then I'd started my first company. I think I was sort of in between two phases. Maybe not, I'm not sure. But anyway, I washed Sri Mataji's feet. She looked at me rather sternly and she said, Paul, your liver's a bit bad. And I went, really, Mother? I don't drink that much. I have beer occasionally, and I think that can affect the liver. She said, no. Let me fix it. So I rolled up my T-shirt or my shirt, and Sri Mataji put one of her feet directly on the liver area where it is above my stomach and pressed really hard. As she pressed, the only sensation I could feel was like this kind of, I suppose in a way, like a crackling or scrunching going on or something like that. And then very slowly, it felt like there was a stone underneath my skin at the area of my liver, exactly where Mother's feet were. And she was extending power into my liver to clean it out. She started laughing. She said, "Can you feel it?" And I said, "Yeah, I can feel this, hard mass." And then she said, "Okay, I'll get rid of it." And then she just gave a little kick into my stomach, and poof, this sort of hard mass that had accumulated under the skin, which was rolling around like a cricket ball or something, kind of vaporized and disappeared. I didn't see any like smoke and flames coming out when I'd expected to have smoke and flames coming out. And then I felt the flood of vibrations come over the whole of my body, and I felt absolutely incredible, and thanked her, and then the other yogis took over, and they were doing similar things. So it was absolutely remarkable. And after that, I had a very clear liver, and I think even to this day I've had no liver problems. So that was just one story. Next story, I think we moved to London, to Knightsbridge. Mother had a lovely house she'd bought in Knightsbridge. And 1 second, I'm drinking a cup of tea here like all British people. Okay, tea is very important. Um, so I would go in the afternoon when I was in London doing things in my company, and I would sort of pop over to Knightsbridge to see Shri Mataji and the yogis, all the British yogis and foreign yogis were sort of congregating at Mother's house, and she was sitting in a chair in the middle watching television, and she was directing all the painting and decorating. Uh, because one of Mother's true loves was to actually get houses and then do them up and make them her own kind of little mini palaces, and we used to love doing that. It was such a joyous thing to do. So I popped over to say hi, and I was sitting down with Shrimataji watching television. She was watching McEnroe play the other guy, I can't remember, Boris Becker or something like that. Anyway, she was playing this other guy. He was playing this other guy, and she liked McEnroe and was supporting him, and this was the longest match that they had, and McEnroe won it. And I always remember Shimata just saying, yes, he's a really good tennis player, and I really enjoy watching him, and he's a nice guy kind of thing. And I remember McEnroe being interviewed once on television, and he said, quite unconnected, he said, yeah, I've only got one skill that God gave me, so I used that to the maximum extent, which of course was his tennis skill. So I thought that basically he was a very respectful person. Anyway, I'd been sitting watching television with Mother for quite some time, and I heard something plop behind me and didn't take any notice about it. And when I went home that evening, my wife said to me, hey, you've got spots all over the back of your coat, white spots. And I went, uh-oh, I know what happened. What had happened is very, very amusing. Shrimataji's name is Nirmala, meaning no spots, spotless Devi. So we know that. So what had happened is I was sitting kind of between Shrimataji and some yogis doing some painting with white paint. And one of them had dropped the paintbrush, which is what I heard plop, into the bucket, and all the spots had come flying out. And if I wasn't sitting there to collect all the spots on my back, then they would have hit Shrimataji. And I just think that's just one of the small kind of things which I can see and I find really, really amusing. So I'll think of a few more, and this was a short podcast because I haven't done any for some time, and I'll put a couple of pictures on it, but I can't think of many. So I hope you've enjoyed it, and I'll try and think of a few more. And of course, if anybody has any ideas about podcasts, please let me know, and I'll try and incorporate them. In the beginning of the London part of the podcast, there's a little bit of video of Mother's house in Brompton Square. I'll put a full link below so that you can click on it and have a look at the whole long movie that Mother directed, and she also produced after she'd finished all of the work in Brompton Square, which was a wonderful house and very interesting as well. So I'll put that link below. Jai Shri Mataji.